What's up guys, Skottyy here from the Blue Coconut family and welcome to a Cities Skylines tutorial. Today this is going to be purely for you new players and your beginners who are, maybe this is the first time that you are learning of Cities Skylines, or maybe you've just bought a pack on Steam. So I'm going to be taking you through the process of starting your first city and using some of the controls in this video. So if you already played the game a little bit, maybe skip ahead some of these points. Maybe some of these you already know and you maybe have already started the game. Just skip ahead and that'll be fine. If you're quite advanced into the game and you've played it a couple times, you get your first city, I've got lots of other content on my channel, so just go give it a watch. I've done tons of tutorials and stuff on all my other content, and you might find something that will help you out. So yeah, let's get started. So I've got on my screen now what most of you should have already have gathered. So what this is the launcher for Cities Skylines. So this is something we've added recently into the game, and this is after you click play within Steam. So you are presented with this button, this screen, and you've got a couple of adverts and news articles down the bottom. You've also got the option to go through some settings. So I won't worry about these settings here for the time being, because the main settings are within the game. So if you're brand new, you won't have a resume button, because that's if you have already loaded into a city. So that's one you click and it will skip the main menu and it will launch you straight into that city. Now in my experience that takes a long time, so I normally tend to just press the play, but that's what that one does, and it tells you what it's loading there. So for this example, it's loading my tutorial world in the map of Los Cruz. And it was last accessed on the 4th of the 6th 2020 at 18:41 and 12 seconds. But yeah, for now I want you to click this play button. So this will launch you into the game. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip ahead with this first, so just expect a dip to black around about now. Okay. So this is what happens when you load up to the game. So this is the main menu, and this is what you get most times. Now if you've signed up to a Paradox account, this is where it will appear in the top right. I highly recommend that you do, because it gives you access to some other save options, to the cloud, and they give you a free park that you can use within the game as well, and it's always good to have that sort of thing. So you've got some options here. So you've got continue game, which is the exact same button as we saw on that previous splash screen, which takes you into the last city that you played. Sometimes if you're just using one city, that's the perfect option for you. But if you're like me, you've got a couple of cities on the go, you might have one which you're working on in without modifications, or you've got maybe you're not using a money hack or things like that. Then you want to make sure you just change all those settings beforehand before you going in. So there's not always the first option for you. You've got, sorry if I sound a little bit patronising, but I'm just aiming this towards people who are brand new to this game. So I'm just going to go through all the options. So new game does exactly what it says on tin, and we'll be clicking that in a minute. That's where you go through all the options for starting up a brand new game, and yeah, we'll go through it in a second. Load game, exactly what, once again, it says on the tin. That's where you load up an old game that you've previously saved. It's different to the continue game because you get an option screen of which one to select of all the previous ones you have played. Editors, this is where you can go in and you can actually edit bits in games, and maybe if you create your own custom content such as road markings or even road layouts, custom assets and things like that, they're the editors ready for you inside there. Content manager, as you play the game you become more and more advanced. This is the bit you're going to be paying most attention to. This is where you can activate and disable and look up and change settings of all your custom mods or assets that you add into the game. This is where they are kept inside here. Options, once again, exactly the same thing we'll go through. So these are your options for in-game. Highly recommend going through the key mapping screen, just so you make sure you know what sort of options you've got for your keyboard and that they feel right for you. Remember to go through your video settings to make sure that they are optimum for what your screen is currently able to output. And the same for gameplay. You can change some of these, so maybe if you are more European you use Celsius, or maybe you're American you use the Fahrenheit, things like that. You can change all that within the game here, and you can change what happens in the game through that. set audio, all things like that. So I've turned off the music and the radio because I don't like to have it on, so I've left that like that. And inside here you kind of got the ability for you to reset certain things in the menu. So this is reset the unique building unlocking, so if you want to reset your progress, you can click that button and it resets the whole thing. The show what's new panel, that appears every time you go into a new updated game. So every time they release a DLC and they've updated the game, you have a big panel in the middle of the screen that displays what they've changed and what's new for that update. And you can click there to show it again if you maybe missed it and you said don't show me again. And of course credits show you all the credits of the game and who make it and things like that. Exit game, exactly what it says, that's where you click to exit. So let's go into this, let's go into the new game. Once we go into the new game, you can see a ton of maps here. So you've got a choice of map or you've got a choice of scenario. Scenarios are literally that, they're pre-made cities and you have got to complete certain targets, which you can see down here, within certain time frames and things like that. So if you're into that sort of gameplay, then that's perfect for you. I prefer to go through more kind of sandboxy and build up the city from scratch. And that's exactly what we've got here. You'll see here that we've got these little markings and icons here. This displays what DLC they have come from. If they've got this next to it, it means that they have come from the workshop. So it means they are user-made content, and so might not necessarily be balanced and things like that. Whereas all the ones which have been made by Paradox are pretty much well balanced and are really well designed. So we'll go through. So you've got a choice of types of what sort of temperate climate and weather conditions you've got, and sort of what your world looks like. So we'll go through a couple. So you've kind of got your grassy kind of looks, things like that. You've got kind of these which are more a little kind of beachy and a little more tropical. You've got these which are a little bit more kind of rustic, tropicals, beachy, things like that. You can really see the different types in here. Diamond Coast is probably one of my favourite maps. I really like the look of this one. And then you've got the snow maps. If you've got snowfall, they're really quite cool, add in new elements to the game. These ones add in the ability that you actually have heating for your city, and when it snows your roads become iced up, and yeah, I've done a video on that, check in the top right to go see. So we've also got all these sub-maps, and each one has a different type. So park life, they added in the ability to have natural parks and things like that, so you might see that the terrain might be a little bit more kind of tailored towards that sort of thing. You've got natural disasters, so potentially that sort of thing. Yeah, you've got absolute tons in here. Industry ones, these are quite important, so these ones have a lot more tailored to have industry and natural resources here. So you may be seeing as I'm clicking through these, I've got little icons down here. So let me talk you through what we have here. So I'm going to choose, let's go for that one I really liked, that Diamond Coast. There we go. So natural resources, these are different types of natural resources. So these are your oil resources, and you can see that it's not got much, it's got quite a bit. Here are your ore, so it's got a little bit more ore. Your farmland, so it's got not very much farmland in it at all. It's got quite a bit of woodland, and the amount of water is fairly okay. So it's got quite a decent amount of water. So they're your natural resources. That's for your use within industries, and it gives you an indication of what sort of industries you can use within the map, because you might find some that have let me find one, for example, is there one that has, there you go, for this one for example, has no oil in it at all. So that's pretty pointless if you're loading that up and you need to start an oil industry. You can't really use that map. Over here it shows you what outside connections have. So we're lucky on this map that it actually has all four. So it says that it's got highway connections, it has got train connections, it has got ship connections, and it also has the plane connections. Now I think all the original ones have that, but we can see here that this Pine Rivers has no ship connections. This one here has no rail connections. And this one has no plane connections. So it's quite an interesting thing right there. So it's worth noting for is what connections you have, because that's the best way of getting people into your city and out of your city if you want to export goods and things like that. The next one is your suitable area for building. So this shows you how much percentage of the map can you actually use for building. Now it says 69% here, so that's pretty good. Whereas if you've got a map which is basically just all water, so right on there, you know, this island, only 45% of the map is actually usable. That's the best way of putting it, is you can only use 45% of the map, which is fairly useless. But I think 69-70%-ish is fairly okay. We can see here the base theme, so that's what I was talking about earlier. So the base theme is tropical, so that's quite nice. That's why you get these nice beaches and you get like palm trees and things like that around. And if you had a custom map theme which you can download from Workshop, you can add it in here. So that adds in special buildings and things like that. You can add that in there. So you gives you a nice picture on the top right here. We can see that it's got like a little piece of pre-built kind of architecture here, so we can go investigate that, see what that's about. And it gives you a nice thing, so I quite like the look of this. It's got a nice estuary, that's nice building areas in here, and I can always see that this potentially up here is where the starting grid will be, because I can see the little icon, or the little bit of highway there. Okay, we've also got the city name there, so let's just change this up to be Skottyy Town. If I can spell, there you go, Skottyy Town. And then of course, because we are British and we drive on the correct side of the road, we have to be left-hand traffic, because that is the correct way of driving. Comment below if you think I'm wrong, and also I would like an essay on why I'm wrong. But left-hand traffic, click that if you want to be correct. Once you've done that, then you are good to go to click start. Now, the first time you load a city, it does take a long time because it's got to generate all of your resources and things like that. But the more you play a city and the more you add into the city, you'll notice that your loading times will be a lot slower as you go on and go on and go on. So once we're in game, I'm going to go over some controls, and yeah, I'll probably stop it there, and in a future episode I will show you how you can, the best way of starting a city from scratch. So we're still doing that. I don't think I'm going to need to do a dip to black anytime soon. No, because it seems to be moving quite on well. For this episode, I have turned off all of my modifications and my assets, because we're not targeting it for that purpose, and that is quite an advanced thing for you guys to get onto. If it's something you want me to cover on how to look up assets and modifications and set them up in game, then that's something I can do. To comment below, is it something that as a beginner you would like to know how to add in an asset and a modification, and what ones have you got in mind? Like, there's quite a few ones you would like to start off with, maybe the one that unlocks the entire map to use. That would be quite nice. So yeah, comment below, what ones do you think? Okay, I can see that this is starting to struggle a little bit, so I'm just going to do another dip to black. Okay, so that's that wasn't a little bit that long after I dipped to black there, so that's fairly okay. So this is what you'll get when you load it into your city. You'll see this big red bar around the edge. That's just to show that you are paused in the simulation, and you can see that down the bottom here, we are paused. Now you get a big box here that just says, oh, this is how you start. Now you can just click away on that and it'll go, but that's always in this little box here, and that's quite good if you are, you know, stuck. There's a little advisor down there. So let's go over some of the controls. So you can easily move around your city by moving your mouse up, down, left and right, and that will move around. You can also use the WASD tools to move around, which is quite good. And you can also use the Q and E to rotate. On your mouse you can press in the middle wheel button, and if you click and hold, you can then move your mouse around to then move the camera. You can use the wheel as well to rotate in. Also pitch up, pitch down on the keyboard is R and F. These are the defaults. This is, unless if you've changed it, then it's, you know, then you've changed it to something. So don't worry about those too much. To zoom in and out on the keyboard, it is Z and X. Z and X. That's pretty much all you have to know. So to select things, you can go through and you can press left click Right click is how you remove things and how you undo stuff, even though you do have the ability to undo in this game. It's quite useful. So let me talk you through the user interface. In the top left we have got some of our options for our views. So these are the info views. These are the different types of views that you have of data layers in your city. So for example, if you're activated, you'll see water. So you'll be able to see what parts of your city is able to get water to your houses and which ones don't. As the same with the power, you can see which ones are powered and which ones are not. These are all very powerful in their own way, but are quite advanced in gameplay. So if it's something you are interested in and you are stuck, for example, you've got lots of traffic and you want to know what's causing it, there is a traffic data layer. So you can click on that and you can see what roads are really busy and you can work on a solution for around those roads. So these are all very powerful in their own right. So I highly recommend looking at these and going through each of these within your city and seeing which ones are useful for you. The next one across is if you've got disasters. All this simply is showing you gives you a button to click if you want to evacuate your citizens to their nearest bunkers. That is of course if you've built any bunkers for your citizens to go into. So that's all that in the top right. In the top middle you've got your chirpy bird. So this is your little bird, and I suppose it's kind of modelled after Twitter as such. But this gives you kind of little information about what's happening within your city directly from your population. They will, chirp or tweet, to put it in modern terms. Little things about your city. So maybe if you are having issues with like power or water, or even garbage or police, then they will start tweeting and chirping their issues and their problems that they have, and you'll see them appear here. So it's able for you to get kind of a boots on the ground kind of view of what's happening within your city. So absolutely have a look inside that, and yeah, that's a really useful tool. It gives you a good indication on how well you're doing as kind of a city planner / mayor. Here you have the radio station. Now, as I said before, I've got my radio stations turned off, but you can see you can change here and you can go through all your different radio stations and find one that you like. Here you've got that pause menu, which you can still access pressing escape. But here you've got the option to resume game, save the game, or load another game. Go through some more limited options. You can't access all of them in here. Some city statistics and some tutorials logs, and also the option to quit. They're all in there. Now we move on to your bottom bar. Now a lot of these are greyed out because we are starting the game, but these will unlock over time. They give an indication on when they will unlock. So on the left hand side, this gives you your areas. It also shows you what time of day it is. But if you click it, it shows you the larger view of the map and what areas you can purchase. So they'll appear in like big boxes here, and all you have to do is click on it and click purchase, and then that will give you your indication of it. You can purchase your next region and expand your map outwards. So without any modifications, you can go to a maximum of 3x3. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's a 3x3, so a 9 square grid. So it's still a fairly large grid you can go to, but there are modifications that can take it a lot bigger. So there's one I know which can take it to 87 grids, which is basically the entire viewable map. And that is really useful to have, especially if you want to build a large city. This one here, this button here, shows you your milestones. So it shows you how much population you have to get before you appear in your next milestone and you unlock more buildings. So we can see here our first milestone is Little Hamlet. We have to reach a population of 500 people. When we unlock that, we get new features such as taxes and loans, new services of garbage, healthcare and education and campus areas, as well as new building of a medical centre, elementary school, landfill site, recycling centre, community school, and these are some of the modifications which for some reason have still continued to come through, but that's absolutely fine. We also, in here, you can see your achievements you can unlock, and later on you can unlock unique buildings and also monuments, but they're for much higher levels of gameplay, and they are unique, so you can only build them once, and they are quite cool to do. Underneath that, we have got our little time modifier. So you've got your play and pause button in the bottom left. This shows you what date you're currently on. So it starts off as today. Then this is your acceleration time, so you can make it go ultra fast, or you make it go normal time, or somewhat speedy. Please note that the more you build into the game, and depending on your computer specifications, the further in the game you get, the more things you build, the slower the simulation will become because it's having to process more, and that is completely normal. Even in some of my very large cities, top speed is nowhere close to what it is on a brand new game. Okay, this button here takes you to the city information, so it shows you what your current population is, how many households you have, how many workers you have, and what your current tourists are. Also gives you a kind of your average zoned building level, and also what your average land value is. Land value is how much a property is worth and what type of people will move into that property, whether they're wealthy or whether they're poor. And also what your city attractiveness is. So what, as it says there, the value indicates how attractive your city is to tourists. So how likely are tourists are able to come to your city. Also, it gives you an approval rating up here, which so far is very, very sad, which I'm quite surprised about, because seeing that there's no one in my city at the moment, who's sad? I'm definitely not sad. It's my new city, so that should be 100% happy, because I'm the only person here. I'm very happy. Here you've got the option to name your town, which you do via this method. So you can name your town later on. You have to go in via this way. Then here you've got your this is your RCI demand. So it shows you what your current city is demanding in terms of you building. So the green on the left hand side, this is your residential. So this is your residential and your houses. So this is people's property. So if the higher this is, the more houses you have to build or zone within your city. The middle one is blue, and that is your commercial. So they are your shops and your businesses and places of work and things like that for people to go shopping to spend their money from their work. So if that's higher, it means you need to build more shops. And the last one is in your industries and your offices. So these are your actual workplaces. This is where people go to earn money, which they will then go and spend shopping on their way home. So the way that works is people live in houses, which then they go to work at a job, they earn money at their job, and on their way home they have to spend that money in a commercial zone to then go back home. So this is how they balance out. Next is your temperature, which really isn't that big of a thing in these type of games, but if you are playing in a snowy biome or a snowy map and you are needing to do heating, this is very important to look at, because the lower the temperature is, the more electricity is used, because people are having to turn on their heating. So that's worth taking note of if you are in a snow map. If you're not, don't worry too much about it. Here is your bank balance, very important. So this shows you what exactly how much money you've got left to play with, and this goes down very quickly. In this side, this is how much you currently have. Over here, this red number, it can go up into green. This shows you your weekly income. So this shows you how much money is kind of flowing in and out of your city. So this shows you how much money is coming in or out. So if this is a red, it means that you are slowly losing money in your city, and that is quite bad. If it's green, it means that you are making money and you are slowly accumulating more and more money into your pot, which is quite good and the best way of having it. Next is your population. So this shows you your current population, and similar to the money, this shows you what your change is. So this is whether it is going up or if it's going down. Worth taking note if you're doing your milestones. So if you're working on milestones and you haven't got any, haven't got the unlock all mod on, this is where you look to see whether you're actually increasing. Next one is your global happiness. This is the exact same as we saw in here, and it just shows if your happiness of your people is generally positive or if it's generally negative, and it's something you can work on. Or you can maybe have, you might have money coming in because you aren't spending that much money on services such as education or much police or for healthcare, but that might make people really sad, and of course that makes your population go down. So it's all a balancing act around here. Yeah, I think these are part of a modification. Cinematic cameras, free roam, so don't worry about those too much. Next we'll look at this main bar. So we've already talked a little bit about the advisor tool. So these are your different tabs. Now I cover a lot of these in other videos, so go check out my Cities Skylines tutorial playlist. I'll put a link in the top right now. To go see individual things that you might want to have a look at. I've done tons of videos, but I'll talk over the general highlights. So your first one is the roads, and that within all of these they look very much like this. So they have different tabs within the top, and in each tab they have different kind of, we call them products in underneath, which you can then use, which is quite cool. So the first one is roads. Then we have zoning, so this is where you have zoning here. So if I actually place the first bit of road, it will actually unlock. There you go. So we can see there zoning. This is exactly what we talked about earlier with this, the RCI, residential, commercial, industry, RCI. So we can see here is your residential zoning, here is your commercial zoning, and here is your industry zoning. To do these, you simply find an area you want to zone. So I want to say this bit is residential, and you've got a couple of tools here. You've got the paintbrush, which will fill an entire area like this, or you've got a marquee, which you can basically say I want all of this and this side to be green, and it works similar to that as well. But you've also got these little dots as well, which just simply just go along, and you just paint by numbers and paint by squares. And it's the same for all of these for different types. Now it's worth noting you want to put your industry area quite far away from your city, but we'll cover that in another video where we look at how to start off your city. We're simply looking at tools. So let me cover quickly again how you build roads, because I did that very quickly there. So with anything that is a spline path, and what I mean by that is you have multiple points, you're not just putting down one thing, you have a spline, so you are building like a spine or something like that. So you have different types of things. So you've got straight roads, which is, as it says, if it is this solid colour, it means that one click and you will build the road, like so. If it is this dotted line, it means this is where you are going to click to start a construction process. So you'll click, and then from there you will then build your curve, or maybe something else like that from that point. So this is your corner or your curved road. So we can say, right, we want it to go one block, which are these lines here. Oh, I did that wrong. Let's do that. So we can one block, and then we can go one block to the right, which will build us a 90-degree curve, just like so. And we can see the individual zoning around there. Some other tools we've got is the freeform road. This is one I use quite a lot. So it gives you the ability to completely change. So you go right, once you click once, it is freeform, gives you an indication of what sort of the angles it will be, but once you build one corner, it doesn't lock it out. You can then continue building as much as you want. To get out of this mode, you simply right click and right click again, and it takes you right out. But I quite like this sort of building tool, just like so, because you can simply find a point, click, right click, and you're out. And quickly before you know it, you're starting to build up a small little neighbourhood, just like so. The last one in this thing, which I'll cover, is the upgrade tool. So this is where you can go through and you can upgrade individual roads you've placed ready. So that means you do not have to destroy a road that you've built previously if you just want to change what type of road it is. The only other one, so we can change these, maybe we want to change it to a 2-lane gravel road. Maybe this road here, maybe it's too nice for this type of road. So what you do is you make sure you have it clicked, you click what road you want it to change to, and then you come along and then you click the road and it upgrades that. Now the bit where that can be a little bit funny is if you're changing to a bigger road and you have got a building in the way. So let me add in here. That's not going to actually work on that because it's still a normal road. But if you're changing from, there we go, it will work. So if we put down the, what we're going to do, let's put in this for example, next for road, and we wanted to upgrade this road to be a 2-lane road, you can see there that the space it's going to occupy covers a non-movable building. So we can't build it because the space is already occupied. So that's okay, because we can go in and we do have the option of relocating buildings. Now this does have a relocation cost, which you can see there is 700, but often that is a lot cheaper than destroying and rebuilding. Now we can come in and we can see this is upgraded. Sometimes also if you're upgrading roads which are too close together, so maybe these were closer and you upgraded it to a larger road, it would have an issue with that. Sometimes I find the best thing to do with those is to delete it and start again. But that's the upgrade road. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the basic tutorial of a new player within Cities Skylines. I'll come back in another video in the future to cover exactly how you can start off your city from scratch. If there's any comments and any questions you have about starting up a Cities Skylines world, please put them in the comment section below. Also, please comment, do you want to what other content do you want me to cover in the game? I've got tons of content, so please check out those, but if there's anything specifically you would want me to cover, please put it in the comment section below. So yeah, hope that's been useful for you. If it has, hit that like button. Also subscribe and you'll see tons of my other content. I do a lot more things other than just Cities Skylines videos, so go check out some of my other content. So yeah, I've been Skottyy from the Blue Coconut family. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.